Hello and welcome. You are watching QTV and you are watching The Week in Review. I'm Ade Darami, your host, and across the table from me I have friend and colleague Mahmoud Mboj. Mr. Mboj, welcome.
Cheers, Ade. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And if you hear my voice croaking a bit, I've got a bit of a frog in the throat, but I hope it won't spoil matters. Anybody watching for the first time, the program is called The Week in Review because we review some stories from the week just gone by, and we kick them around, and some stories we spend a bit more time on than others. So what's on the menu, I hear you ask? Well, the government has responded to allegations really filed by the Gambia Press Union regarding how committed they are to democracy, and also media reforms. Are they too draconian? Also, His Excellency the President has been going around on a kind of mini tour. It's not quite Meet the People. It's kind of launched the Roadworks tour, and he's said that development must reach every community. Seems a reasonable thing to say. Also, the Council of Ministers, OMBG, Gambia River Basin, this organization which encompasses us, Guinea-Bissau, Senegal. They met recently, and there were some interesting things to come from that Council of Ministers, and we'll delve into that. Speaking of ministers, the Gambia's sports minister, Bakary Waibaji, has recently commented on what I certainly thought was a tough draw. I won't spoil what he thinks about the draw for the upcoming Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON. Also, the Central Project Coordination Unit of the Ministry of Finance, they recently held a grievance mechanism workshop specifically for World Bank funded projects. How can people complain? What's the mechanism, etc., etc. Also, of course, Tobaski is just around the corner, and you won't be surprised we spoke to some tailors, and as ever, they've got something to complain about. It's not the usual, but hey, you'll find out what it is. And regarding tourism, it's such an important sector to the Gambia. There's a cruise ship just docked in Banjul, bringing over 300 tourists. Is that a lot? Not enough? We'll find out when we get into the story. Also, the Minister of Gender recently toured the about-to-end GCCI trade fair in Brusubi, and she spoke to some of the traders. And again, they had some interesting things to say too. EU-Gambia partnership, long gone on, but there's been a 5th edition of the film festival, European Union Film Festival. And is it just an opportunity to watch some nice movies, or is there something more behind it? We'll find out about that. Women's cricket. You probably think, what? In the Gambia? Do they even play? Well, yes, they do. And there's an initiative that's trying to get more women, particularly young women, interested in the game. So these are our stories, and as I'm sure you'll agree, quite diverse. So, off and running, let's get the African Commission for Human and People's Rights, currently sitting here in Banjul. And one of the submissions to them was by the Gambia Press Union about how tough things are for the media here in the Gambia. And the government didn't take it lying down. They responded. So here's some of the allegations and also some of the response. Have a look, have a listen.
What is worrying about these defamation suits brought against journalists by ministers is that they are given an opportunity before the story is out to respond to the allegations, but instead they choose to threaten journalists with court action if the story ever comes out. On 11 March 2026, the editor of Jollof News Online, Mamadou Joseph Dabo, was assaulted by police officers at the Banjul Magistrate Court premises for taking photos of accused persons outside the court. He was later detained for 6 hours and charged with common assault. The charges have later been changed to common nuisance, and he was supposed to appear in court in April last month, but the case has been adjourned indefinitely.
These reforms have significantly expanded democratic space, strengthened constitutional liberties, and dismantled a number of laws and practices historically associated with restrictions on media freedom and civic expression. The recent enacted Criminal Offences Act 2025 revealed several sedition-related provisions inherited from colonial and authoritarian eras. including provisions criminalizing criticisms relating to the president's judicial processes. This is a major democratic reform which must be objectively acknowledged within the broader context of legislative modernization.
We must acknowledge, and so it depends on which side of the fence. Let's mix our metaphors. You will decide whether the glass is half full or half empty. The GPU says one thing, a government says another. Mr. Mboj, where does the truth lie?
Absolutely. I'm there, the Secretary General of the Gambia Press Union could have added the Mamadou Dabo, Musa Sharif, the voice. We had that earlier. There was Matar Jase, the photojournalist, and President Barrow himself. Didn't he file a suit against the voice, the editor-in-chief, in 2024? In a funny kind of way, they're both right.
I thought you might say that.
Because this is not really, I think, a return to authoritarianism.
It really isn't.
Not quite
and I get
that.
a bit annoyed when we try and dress it up like that. It's not quite that.
It's not quite that.
Yes.
But yes, we must be wary, be watchful of these dangers, as it were. We've seen that authority, they're not very comfortable with the messenger.
Yeah, well, this is it.
With journalists.
And one of the things that they particularly stressed was that a lack of will to actually address and even repeal some of the more draconian laws, because, you know, Barrow's been in since 2017. What's stopping them? You know, they can say we haven't used them, but the fact that they're there means that one day you might. And if you're not going to use them and you hadn't, just repeal them. What's stopping them from? So that was the kind of allegation by the GPU that, you know, they're there and they're kind of hanging over people.
But that's it. The little improvement we've seen when legislatively or when it comes to law, something written down, was really with the Supreme Court, wasn't it?
Well, that's right.
When they said that the defamation laws, I think, were sort of unconstitutional, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. So, yes, they've been slow. All these international agencies, the watchdogs, have been saying it. It's just been very slow. So, yes, you have made improvements, but people are beginning to suspect that that momentum, as it were, has sort of stalled.
Indeed.
Really.
Indeed.
And we've seen sort of this back and forth, as it were, tug of war with journalists.
Well, that's right. True. Because speaking at that same event, but not on the same day, the Solicitor General, Tomasi, echoed these, and I quote what he says. He says, you know, our participation, even in this event, shows our dedication to a peaceful, democratic, and prosperous continent grounded in human dignity, justice, equality, and the rule of law. Sounds very, very grand, but as we say, you know, if you have these rules, you have these laws, and actually they're holding the Gambia back from kind of going up the rankings in some of the indices that are used to kind of judge how free and fair societies and countries are.
And that's it. And that's it from what you've quoted there. They're all abstractions. I think it would have been interesting there if Aliou Djibo had really confronted this, the Justice Dabo's case, deal with the specific allegation.
Rather than generalize.
Then generalize is very easy. I can just generalize anything.
That's right.
But deal with the specifics of all of these cases and show us why authorities took the decisions they took, and then we will judge. That is how you can really re-establish trust, as it were, through reasoning. But these abstractions, they go over our heads.
They really do.
We judge concrete examples, what's happening on the ground. That's what we judge.
This is absolutely true. And what was interesting was that he was in a forum where he could have done so, because this was an international forum, and there were people from all over Africa, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Sudan, you name it, they were there. And some of them, people put quite tough questions to them, and they had to answer directly. They couldn't dodge it. I mean, in one case, the South African, when it was about xenophobia, she kind of said, I'll have to go back to my boss, the Attorney General. And so she didn't answer that. But nonetheless, on other specifics, people brought up specific cases, and they had to give a response.
Absolutely. So that's really the key. How do you respond to specific allegations? Normally, when you go to these meetings, you have a team. skillful team,
Sure.
somebody amongst your team, one of them would have had the details and say, let's address this concretely for the benefit, for the sake of everybody else. They've mentioned something specific, but you didn't address that. So the rest could say, well, yes, generally, when we look at RSF, the indices, we are improving.
Yes, sir.
But again, some of these bodies are telling us that in certain areas, still your gains are still fragile.
Sure.
See, that is the key. And we always, any development, governance, it's always work in progress.
Indeed.
You see, you could improve a few years, and if people are not watchful and not mindful, you could backslide, can't you?
Yep.
So one is constantly having to be watchful, isn't it? The price of liberty, eternal vigilance kind of thing. Yes. So that's what it is. Sure. Yes, you're improving, you're doing well, but there are certain areas you're not doing so well. And even with the police, the idea of exercise my right to assembly, to be, the permit, even that could be a source of so much to come. You know, sometimes you have a small group, maybe strategically, it will be better to give them the permit, as it were. But again, I don't know, is it that reflects to show power? No, it's not going to happen because we are not comfortable with your cause. Sure. Therefore, then you bring more trouble for yourself. Yes, what was potentially small, then you amplify it by your decisions. Absolutely. That's the problem you face.
Gala comes to mind when I saw people saying, if what I'm saying is right, that the police are arresting people, I'm about to go and join them.
Absolutely.
And people are posting all the time in real time.
So you expect your policymakers to be strategic in the thinking. It's not about power, it's about law.
It's about law, and it's about how you exercise the power you do have.
Exercise it, that's it. Sure. You can either sort of encourage trust, as it were, or you alienate people, depending on what you do. Sure. It's all a question of judgment. We need to show sound judgment so that you could diffuse things before they begin, as it were. But instead, they add the fuel to it, some of the decisions.
Yeah, indeed, absolutely. Thank you for that, Mr. Mboj. And as you will imagine, that's an important topic. So, of course, we spent quite a bit of time on it. Next up, President Barrow has been going on this kind of mini tour of parts of the country, West Coast region, CRR, I beg your pardon, and URR. And he's been laying foundation stone after foundation stone, not for buildings, but for roads. Have a look, have a listen.
The projects fully funded by the government of the Gambia cover routes across Jimara, Basse, Tumana, Kantora, Wuli, and Sandu districts in the region. The projects forms part of the broader 1,500 kilometer national road initiative with more than 385 kilometers earmarked for the Upper River region. The roads include 11.2 kilometer Mankamankunda, Julangel, Sare Musa, Sare Walam, Banatenda Road in Jimara. The 23.2 kilometer Jiroba, Sabusire, Tuba Tafsir, Dasilame, Alumhare Abdu, Banikoke Kuro, Kumbija, Sambatako, Kaba Kamarot in Basse.
The foundation stones laid today at various locations in the regions mark the beginning of a new era. I take this opportunity here in Tinkinju to renew our commitment to the communities of URR and CRR under the Irwa Plan. Development is not a privilege for a few. It is a right for all Gambians. My administration views infrastructure not just as an aspect of development, but the foundation upon to build and sustain visible and impactful progress. This commitment is firmly reflected in our National Development Plan, IRWA.
Well, I mean, we are a political government, but I can assure you that this process started well before, the political season. I mean, you just don't get up and say that I'm going to do a road. You have to do the surveys, then you identify the roads, then you do a pre-feasibility study, and then you do the detailed designs, and then you do the costings, and then you prepare the BOQs, then you go into procurement. That's where we are right now. We are doing the procurement, and hopefully we will finish that before Tabaski.
They hope to finish all of this before Tabaski. He had started by saying, yes, of course, we are a political government. And of course, the accusation, and just for the viewers' sake, the shopping list of roads that you had there, I had to cut in about half. Aliu went on for quite a bit, mentioning all of them, which tells you there are rather a lot. But Mr. Mboj, he says development must reach every community, nothing wrong with that. And of course, others are saying, as I've seen on social media particularly, oh, this is just one long election campaign.
Yeah, it could be an election campaign. Yeah, the roads being built, people will benefit. It is a reality. It will benefit people. Yeah. So, absolutely, the timing. The Prime Minister discussed that. Yeah. It's not electioneering as such. No, I do not believe that. Yet, what you are electioneering on about, it's a good thing.
Well, this is it.
What, part of a broader 1,500-kilometer road, so they're bound to be so many.
That's right.
So, absolutely. But again, for us, when it says I'm fully funded by the government, naturally we ask, how? Earlier on talked about now it's the procurement phase.
Yeah, that's right.
We all know what happens with procurement. So far, the examples we've seen, the inquiries we've done, it wouldn't leave some of us comfortable with our public officials and how they handle the procurement. The rules are there, but we tend to ignore the rules.
Yes, as we've heard recently.
As we've heard. So how much transparency would be in this? That will matter a lot. Sure. And how do we prioritize which roads to build?
Indeed.
That would matter a lot. So there's so much that really we need to know about this.
Well, this is it. And you touch on the point that I was going to raise, because when you look at the number of foundation stones that were being laid, you do wonder, are these going to be built simultaneously? Have we got the capacity to do that? And if not, then how do you prioritize which ones get built now and the others later? Because once you've laid the foundation stone, you've kind of tempted people to think, oh yeah, the road is coming. And then they hear, oh, hang on, those people are having theirs built. What about ours? And then that sort of inquiry starts.
Absolutely. I mean, implementation is chain work, isn't it? You have the first steps, as he called it, development. You cannot have development without the infrastructure, which everybody agrees with. Sure. But it's just the first step. There are other things that you need to do. Everything is a chain. Work is a chain, as it were. That is the key in other areas. What is going on? These questions that we've asked with the procurement, are we going to have transparency? And the processes that are going on, procedures, how much of it should we know? Sure. These are the things that will make a difference. Otherwise, in the end, we'll be complaining about the same old things. Oh, look at the quality of the road because of the procurement. They give it to their friends. Government officials forming shell companies when they see an opportunity coming. Yeah. We've heard all of that. We've been there before. Yeah. So the institutional reform they're talking about, well, show us in action by really being transparent. Open up everything. You have web pages now. You know, you have a website. This is what it is for. Show us what you need to show us.
We'll be keeping our eyes peeled, Mr. Mboj. Thank you for that. Story number 3. There has been a recently extraordinary session of OMVG Council of Ministers here in the Gambia. And some of what they had to say was very, very interesting about this project. Have a look and have a listen.
And then the contribution of the country members. We have 4 countries we have to contribute in order to make OMVG to function. Actually, some countries not contributing. That's not good for the organization. If you want a long life for the organization, we need to contribute. We just built a transmission line, which is more than 1,600 kilometers. And we all are benefiting from that construction. And this country, Gambia, are receiving power from elsewhere. That's why now the power is stable in Gambia. Also in Guinea, we have like a shortage in power. We import power from Senegal. Like we also send in power to Bissau because we have a transmission line. That transmission line now need to be taken care of. If we don't pay our due, we're not going to be able to take off the transmission line because the transmission line is done. It's working. It's working actually. It's serving everyone. Now we're working on the dam construction, which is Sambagalu. Sambagalu is another key issue, which is a power plant. That power will be shared between the 4 country members. So we need to work on that also. Actually, we have an issue because of financing. So the project stopped. We have to look forward between our 4 countries. How can we restart the work in Sambagalu? Because we all need the power. You see, the dry season are affecting all the 4 countries. Today, Guinea, we have power, yes, but that's the dry season. We are facing the dry season. Here also the same thing. The 4 countries are facing the dry season, so we need more generation. So that's why Sambagalu will come and play a key role in order to have a power for everyone who will share that production. So we have to work on that.
They're working on it, Mr. Mboj, and they seem to have been working on this ever since OMVG started. First proposed in 1976, announced in 1978, and then 2018 is when they properly formed it. So it's been kind of limped. Maybe they're waiting to 2028. I don't know, because 78, to that, 2018 and so on. But what was instructive there is that he said that some members are not paying their dues towards making this happen. And it's what we've talked about a lot of time. We have these grand ideas. And even back in 76 and 1978, everybody said this is a really ambitious project, Gambia, Senegal, Guinea, and Guinea-Bissau, kind of linking and sharing. OMVG acronym comes from the French version of the Gambia River Basin project. And really now, he says, they're really struggling. He didn't beat about the bush. He said, we are really struggling, and if we are serious, we have to commit.
Maybe that is the very reason why it's been dragging. Financing.
Yeah.
all these years. Governments will have other priorities. But now we realize that you should have prioritized that energy. It's only now that we're beginning to genuinely understand the significance, the importance of energy to any development project. And there's the problem. He said, you've got the transmission line. He called it that. That's why we said our electricity is stable. Maybe I'll add fairly stable. Fairly
stable, because people might, there's some contention here in the Gambia, particularly recently, what we've seen. I think people would challenge that one.
Absolutely. And then the dam as well, the Sambagalu Dam. They haven't constructed yet, need to construct it. So there we've seen the issue. Yes, you make all these pronouncements, this lofty pronouncement, but are you really committed? We are told that the way you really know whether somebody is committed is whether he'll put his money where his mouth is.
This is it.
How much money are we putting in there?
Because what I was trying to, and I dug and dug and dug deep into the papers, I was trying to see, because as far as I could remember, some of the funding that the Gambia contributed came from the Africa Development Bank when Dr. Adesina was there. And I did wonder whether the other countries were not also making similar pleas to the African Development Bank to say, look, this is a project that could be quite transformational. Let us have the money. But I couldn't find out, how the others were funding it and so on. I think Guinea now, because of their Simandu 2040 project, which they think is going to make them a second or first world country by 2040. A lot of the funding, it seems, is going to come. And the chap we heard speaking there is the energy minister from Guinea, Conakry. And it seems to be that that's where they're hoping to get the funding from, but that's going to make it drag even more.
Absolutely. In fact, for me, the question wasn't quite answered. Are we paying our fair share? That wasn't said.
Because
he just said that some countries so I do not know whether we are paying our fair share.
And the journalist did not press him, because I played the tape. And I'm thinking, how irritating that nobody said to him, what countries are you referring to?
Absolutely. Are we doing so? So this is going to be a problem, Ade. If you're not willing to fork up the money, you're not going to have it. The potential is there, but each country's got its own political imperatives. You see, this is the key. Maybe now there's a new mood, there's a new vibe. When it's feeling a new vibe, we'll see where it takes us, recognizing our vulnerability, really in the supply chain.
That's it.
So how do we strengthen, build resilience into our systems? There appears to be that vibe shift, as it were.
And we mentioned this in relation to the two conferences in Kenya and in Rwanda, where it was all about infrastructure and about self-sufficiency in terms of, you know, energy and so on. You know, saying like, you know, let's wake up. Now is the time, and this is one such project, surely.
Because there's really nowhere to hide anymore,
Yeah,
as it were, really. Now, sort of circumstances have sort of contrived to really reveal, expose things from COVID.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wasn't it?
Absolutely.
From COVID-19, that was the big one. Yeah. And then afterwards, the wars everywhere, Ukraine, now today you've seen Iran. Now everything has been exposed, you see. This is it. There is nowhere to hide anymore. You will be found out, as they say. So, but then recognizing that, well, it takes some ability. This is the second part. How do you deal with it? You don't build things by goodwill. No, no, I have to have ability to do it. This is our problem, maybe. You have people in certain positions that do not have the ability to really convert things written down into concrete, tangible outcomes. Maybe that is one of our problems. I don't know. One
of our very big problems. Thank you for that, Mr. Mboj. Next up, a very different story. The Gambia, we sat back, some of us, and we watched all 46 minutes of the AFCON draw. And then the Gambia's name came out, and we went, why? I won't spoil it for you. Have a look, have a listen.
Well, it's a fair draw, I must say, and we're in a group that has some good teams, you know, in the name of Ivory Coast and Ghana. But Gambia's performance of late has also been very much improved, and you know, we look forward to, you know, doing the best under the group to be able to qualify. And of course, we believe it's possible. It just has to take a little more for preparations from the side of the ministry, the federation, and of course the coach and the players. And we look forward to succeeding and qualifying for the third time for AFCON. Yeah, as far as we are concerned, we are already on track to be able to play at home, and that is an assurance that we gave to the Gambians, that what is left with the work of the stadium is very minor. So it's more like a completion, and I guess some people have seen that we have already started testing the pitch based on the consultant's recommendation, and we have had a few matches there, even though they're in closed doors, and all of that is meant to ensure that the pitch is good, because that was the only thing that was left. All the equipments are here, and we are now just doing the athletics tracks, which is not really part of football, but we are taking the opportunity to fix the athletics tracks, and that will be completed very soon, and CAF will be here to do the inspection. And our hope, based on the expert advice and the consultant, is that CAF will be able to approve it, and Gambia will be able to bring our home games back to the country.
A big thing for me, Mr. Mboj, we might be able to bring our home games back home, and that could be quite crucial, because we've seen many countries that when they play at home, they're really formidable. I mean, Sierra Leone, even in the days when we were rubbish, we went something like 9 years undefeated at home. Even when the likes of Algeria had Lakhdar Biloumi, then for me the best player in Africa, playing, the best they could do was to get a draw, 2-2 draw in Freetown. I was there. But it just shows you how important it is to get your home matches. But we've got Ghana, we've got Ivory Coast, we've got Somalia. He didn't even mention Somalia. He said it was a fair draw. I thought it was a really tough draw. You know, two previous winners, two countries that are going off to the World Cup this year. For me, it's a tough draw.
Yes, for me, I was trying to imagine what would an unfair draw look like. So I'll just ignore that.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is what we have. It's just reality, isn't it?
He's just dealing with the reality of the situation, really. Yeah.
That's it. So it seems the favourites would be Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah, indeed.
Ghana is going to the World Cup.
But their recent AFCON has not been impressive.
Absolutely. The dominance they had, the presence they had in the past, not quite there.
Yeah, quite.
So psychologically, you could be tuned in a way that you could give them a hard time.
Yeah.
So, with Côte d'Ivoire, I don't know, at home, can we steal a draw?
Well, you never know.
Even with Ghana, we've got to take 6 points from Somalia, whether we like it or not.
And
you need to go forward.
And at least one each from the other two, and we hope they knock each other out.
One each, and you hope. Absolutely. So how do we strategize this? Extremely difficult, granted, but not impossible.
Not impossible, and also I think what will concentrate minds is that unlike the last time, there's no lucky third place. First two go through, that's it, from all the groups. And that's where, if people saw the graphic, you saw the plethora of groups, loads and loads of groups. And so first two, the rest, you chill, you'll not be going anywhere. So you really have to make sure that you get something out of each game.
At least it focuses the mind.
Yeah, sure.
It focuses everything. Everything you must be concentrated, as it were, towards that. So, yes, you know, we've got Minty.
I was going to come to the Minty question. We've got Minty.
And no doubt, all this will come through. It might be interesting. You see, with these things, you just never know.
Sure.
It's not really about size.
Sure.
It is just sort of a coalescence, sort of a happy period of having 4 or 5 really highly talented people. We've seen that all the time.
And we've seen that this year, I was going to mention, because you have Curaçao, a nation of 150,000. They're going to the World Cup. They beat Jamaica, they beat Trinidad.
Absolutely.
Former powerhouses in the Caribbean. They beat them to qualify for this group. So they didn't get a kind of sneaky route. Yes, the World Cup is expanded, but they were in what people would have said is a tough group, in the way that we are saying this is a tough group. If people looked at Jamaica, Trinidad, Curaçao were actually ranked to come 4th in that group, and they ended up winning it. So it can be done.
In recent years, we've seen this phenomenon of, well, they call it in England, giant killing.
Yeah.
Smaller nations coming through somehow. Yeah. Cape Verde going to the World Cup. Can you imagine that?
Quite.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that tells you mindset, what infrastructure you have in place, how well you prepare. Never mind your size. You can surmount, as it were, some of these hurdles.
And not only Cape Verde going to the World Cup, but going so at the expense of Cameroon.
Absolutely.
A real giant of Africa.
The real
so
giant.
we have nothing to fear. Just embrace the challenge.
The traditional giants, that dominance they had, it's narrowing.
Yeah.
We've seen that really in recent years. That's narrowing, and perhaps in time, new giants would emerge.
Exactly.
And that doesn't depend on your size.
No, quite.
It's on your performance on the pitch.
That's it. Thank you for that, Mr. Mboch. So everything to play for, as they say. That takes us to story number 5, which will also take us to a break. And the Central Project Coordination Unit of the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs recently held a workshop, and they also called it a sensitization workshop for stakeholders. About what? About grievance mechanisms. How can you complain, particularly about World Bank funded projects here in the Gambia? Have a look, have a listen.
A well-functioning grievance mechanism provides communities and beneficiaries with accessibility and structured channels through which concerns can be raised, addressed, and resolved in a timely and fair manner. Citizens and communities can raise concerns, seek clarification, and receive feedback in a timely and fair manner.
No development projects affect people directly, and during that, livelihoods are influenced, access to services are also provided. For this reason, grievance must not be viewed as an interruption to implementation. Rather, they should be seen as important feedback from the people that we serve.
I think that says it all. And just to say, what they were doing at this workshop, yes, they were looking at World Bank funded projects, but what they were also saying to people is that actually you can use this grievance mechanism for any donor-funded projects, because essentially the tools are the same, and that they should give you a way of how you complain, who to complain to, etc., etc., etc. And I must say I was surprised, because I wasn't aware they'd ever done this before. And so I watched the whole thing, and it was quite interesting, but I did wonder how they're going to roll it out, to particularly in a country where a lot of the messages we try and get out in local languages. Because the person who might want to raise the grievance might be somebody who doesn't speak English or does not have a command of English, but nonetheless they might want to have a grievance. Because, for example, a World Bank funded project might have taken over part of their land. How do they object? How do they? So it really was quite interesting, Mr. Mboch.
Absolutely, the practicalities. You're absolutely correct. Yes, you have this, but again, you take into account the fact that a good number of our citizens cannot read or write, cannot use this. What other mechanism would be there to complement this one? Cater to their needs. So yes, when I read this, I said, what a fantastic idea.
I thought so.
If you can
make one.
that sort of thing.
I was coming to the looks good on paper, as we've discussed in other things
in
here
other areas.
and in previous programs, both here and on this morning. We have lots of things where, as you rightly said earlier, it's not the sort of absence of rules. It's the fact that people ignore the rules or write roughshod over them that make them ineffective. People just ignore the rules. So this might look really nice, and they might pat each other on the back and say, we've delivered this workshop, we've done our job. But unless it can be delivered in the real world, then it's for nothing.
That's it. And here, well, being a World Bank funded now for World Bank funded projects, so you know that they've possibly got a hand, as it were, in the establishment of this grievance mechanism. Yeah. So would they be monitoring it as well to see how well it's working? Because we need that aspect, that element, the monitoring aspect for these things to work. And we know that, well, don't take my word for it. Paul Kagame, Africa's got a crisis of implementation. That is a crisis.
Absolutely.
So that will be the key.
Sure.
So perhaps with that oversight, would they still be providing oversight to the World Bank, or it will have to end at some point?
Yeah, quite.
So this is the issue. But what a fantastic idea.
It's a
if
great
you
idea.
can make it work,
work,
we'll feel that we are part of it,
well,
isn't it?
Yeah.
You'll have our input, and you will respond timely and fair.
Yeah.
I mean, these are new terms. We use them all the time, but in reality, real time, it doesn't work like that.
Quite.
So, can you be a difference?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes. We can keep our fingers crossed.
Can you be the difference?
Thank you for that.
And apparently there will be a toll-free line, isn't it?
Well, that's
1229.
Well, this is it. And they did try and kind of hype up that look. Don't just think that the toll-free line is all there is.
Yes.
There will be
others.
There'll be other things and other mechanisms. Yes, they did absolutely say that. I'm glad you mentioned that.
That's it. And we should be testing it to make sure that it works. Isn't it?
Yeah, quite. And so the feedback has to come from us.
That's the Yakar call center, they call it?
That's right, yes.
Yes, so don't test my yak.
Yeah, quite. I tried it, it didn't work, and that's my grievance, so, and how do I get it resolved?
How do I get it resolved?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Mboch. And that takes us nicely to a break, and after this break, we will have 5 more fantastic stories. Do not go away. Join us after this break. Hello and welcome back. You're watching QTV and you are watching The Week in Review. As I was in the first half, I'm Adi Darami, and as he was in the first half, he is Mohammed Mboch. So Mboch, thank you for your interjections. And to those of you who've been with us from the start of the program, thank you for doing so. And of course, if you're joining now, you know what I'm going to say. You've missed 5 cracking stories, but 5 really good ones to come, including the next one. Tobaski is just around the corner. So it's not just about slaughtering rams and so on. Yes, there's the religious aspect of it, but a huge aspect of it is the social aspect, the clothes, the garments. And so we thought we should go out and speak to some tailors about what they've been putting up with. Have a look, have a listen.
Managing. If only NAWEC favor us, things will be better. We will finish our jobs, but it depends. Sometimes we don't have light. Light is our problem, Sometimes you'll come here morning to evening. For you to get light is a problem,
This year, my workload for sewing is quite limited due to the electricity problems. I have also stopped sleeping at the shop. Instead, I come in as early as 5 a.m. and close at midnight to allow my body some time to rest. I am hopeful that all my customers will collect their fabrics before the holiday.
You heard Mr. Kamara in the OMVG story say that electricity has stabilized. So I thought I'd be a bit cheeky and bring this one in where the tailors are saying anything but Mr. Mboj. And it just does show you that there have been challenges, or though to be fair to NAWEC and others, kind of the instability has kind of been more recent, you know, particularly in this sort of Greater Banjul, because we hadn't gone to the rest of the country. It was Greater Banjul, but I thought I'd bring this story in because normally they complain about other things, but this time it seemed to be every person that Lolly spoke to, electricity was the problem that they complained about.
Absolutely. Well, we went for a few weeks without interruption.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we did that,
yeah,
not that long.
Yeah.
We knew that we couldn't sustain it.
Yeah.
We do not have the infrastructure for that.
Indeed.
It's just a question of for how long before you start having power cuts again, just as we're having now.
Yes.
So this is it. The question one must ask is really, what can NAWEC realistically deliver?
Yeah.
So if I were a commercial operator, I'll be sort of thinking along those lines, really. What is realistic? And then ask of NAWEC, you will have power cuts. Now, can you give us dates,
well,
times?
They put out a
so,
press release.
well, you have to do this for everybody. Then I'll know how to organize my work.
Indeed.
At least I will have some certainty that between this hour and that hour, I'll have electricity. Then I'll go and work. It's just when things are done sort of haphazardly, you have no dates, you have no guide, nothing to help you, so you really do not know. So I do not know what difficulties now we're facing in giving us this information. I didn't know the nature of the problem, really. But that will help people as well. One understands that, you know, what you can deliver is limited.
Yeah, go ahead.
We are not going to kid ourselves. But the limited stuff we have, how can you help us in such a way that we maximize what is given, isn't it?
Because we had some tailors saying that on occasion they slept in the shop in case the light came on.
In case, you see, stuff like that.
They didn't want to have to rush from home
to
the shop, so they slept there. And if the lights came on, they got up and they started to work. And that's not sustainable, really.
So if I had a schedule that I could rely on, then I will organize my life differently. I'll know how to organize things. Can they at least help us in that? I do not know. If, you know, the tailor there saying they do not favor us. I suspect that that is the way that NAWEC can favor you, by giving you information about when you're going to have a power cut and when you're not. And then you know how to work.
Load shedding and all that. Thank you, Mr. Mboj. And that takes us to story number 7. Tourism, I mentioned at the top of the program, very big part of our economy and GDP. And recently, a ship, very impressive, I thought, called the Silver Dawn. So impressive that I actually went on and looked at the official website, which showed you the inside of the ship. It docked here in Banjul, and it brought with it 300 tourists. Is that a lot? I don't know. Have a look, have a listen.
So 2025, you have 6,230 cruise arrival. And then 2026 for now, we have 2,194 arrivals. So our projection for 2025 was 6,500 plus arrivals. But we didn't meet that target because we understand a couple of infrastructure issues. Because we have large vessels that normally should come to Banjul. But if you look at our space here, it's not conducive for us to be able to have those large vessels. But we understand we're coming up with a strategy. And tourism is a trickle-down effect in the sense when passengers visit Banjul, as far as this vessel is here, it's paying an income to Seaport, to Gambia Ports Authority. And then the Gambia Tours is also receiving some income from them because they have to do excursion for them out of it. And so the same thing applies to the economy of this country. Everybody benefits something from it. The infrastructural gap is an issue. We expect to have larger, bigger vessels coming to destination Gambia, but because of the capacity, we might not be able to have those vessels. So I am thinking like if government could expand, we'll be able to have more cruise vessels because some destinations will see 2 or 3 vessels anchor at the same time.
He said some destinations, including one of our neighbors, I checked, they had 4 vessels anchored at the same time. And that neighbor gets 1.4 million tourists a year. Infrastructure, we keep talking about. We will always lag behind if we do not have the infrastructure because these cruise ships are not getting any smaller. In fact, quite the opposite. They're getting bigger and bigger. And so the likes of the ships that used to come in the 60s and 70s, even a quarter of the size of this one, a quarter of its size. And we thought those were big. So now, as he says there, 300 tourists, on the face of it, it sounds a lot, but then when you look at what the possibility could be, it's a trickle.
Absolutely, and with these things, we are told that the important thing is not about the number. How much money do we spend here?
When they come here.
You talked about the vessel, how much they will have to spend to give to the port, granted. But this 300, because we know that cruise tourism really produces low per capita spending.
This is it, because the people are here for a very brief period, you know.
And many excursions, we are told, are pre-packaged.
Indeed.
Really foreign operators in many ways keep that. So we understand, you know, for the 300, yeah, fine, nice excursions. And if you have more, fine. You just never know. With the good experience they had, they could go and tell others who would come in other ways. But let's just understand it for what it is. Really. Because I'm not sure how much it will bring in. It's got its own attractions. But the fact that it will make a difference, this is what we are going to use to diversify, to have cruise tourism. I'm not sure if that will move the needle. The eco stuff, people coming over to stay for a long time because of it's eco-tourism, as it were, isn't it? Because this is like a buzzword of our time.
Well,
I can't help calling it that, even though it is very serious. But we've seen over the years how you have buzzwords come and go.
This is it. And so this will be very interesting. I mean, this one, luckily, they were all taken to various craft markets, which I thought was quite clever. And the people, we spoke to them in a separate story from the craft markets, and they were obviously quite appreciative of it. But
absolutely, it will be interesting to know how much they spent.
This is
See, we just cannot assume anything.
No, quite. They might not spend
they
anything.
Could just go around, you know, the spectacle, the curiosity. You see, you may not really be interested, not necessarily that you are interested in what we're making.
Quite.
There's a huge difference there. Let's be careful.
Indeed. So this another wait and see. Let's see, you know, if the ecotourism ever takes off, because that could be, you know, a game changer, really.
Oh, absolutely. It seems that that's the future, isn't it, really? Everybody all over the world, we're also concerned about this, and we want more ethical tourism, how you conserve things. People are thinking like that. So we must also create institutions, you know, create attractions that are really sensitive to these concerns.
Indeed.
That's what's going to attract them.
Indeed. Thank you for that. Story number 8, the Minister of Gender decided to take a tour of the ongoing GCCI International Trade Fair. And some of the vendors there had some words to tell her. No, I don't mean insults. They just chatted to her and told her some interesting stuff. Have a look, have a listen.
The 19th edition trade fair is the country's largest commercial exhibition to date, featuring over 500 stalls and hosting vendors from various countries across the globe offering food, clothing, furniture, handicrafts and everyday essentials, among various other items.
I think maybe if the program should go back to the February program, so those who come from the Europe, because they come down because of this program, but more especially, and before they go, they buy things from us before they go. So definitely before we come this time around, they've all gone, which makes the trade fair to be very, very dull.
Who sees Senegal and the Gambia as one. We were initially so disappointed by this trade fair that we almost protested. The high cost and increased ticket prices meant very few customers and no profits, and the lack of official media or authority visits made us feel ignored. Your arrival today has completely lifted our spirits.
Spirits lifted by the minister being there, and people felt they could say something to somebody who might take it, even though she's not the trade minister. But nonetheless, there are a lot of female-led enterprises there when we had a look around. But Mr. Mboch, there we heard, you know, they said, you know, bad timing, So I hope GCCI are taking note of what was said to the minister.
Absolutely. And sort of these presences, they matter.
Yeah, yeah.
You see why when our president says that he's going to side visit, he's going on his side visits, it matters to people.
It does.
It was quite interesting there. They felt disappointed, but suddenly the minister was there, said, yes, these people, they haven't taken us for granted. They've taken us seriously. Sure. This is what they say. The high costs.
Yeah, quite.
They talked about the high costs. They talked about the ticket prices fine, and they're not having profits. But the whole world, cost of living is high, so my disposable income shrinks.
Indeed.
So yes, every sector, I suspect, would feel that sort of thing, that feel good factor. You know, having the economy doing well, you have so much money, then you're willing to spend. Isn't that what people are like? So this is going to be a hard one, and we do not know now with the fuel prices. We complain about the transport fares. Where is it going to end? When is it going to end? Sure. We do not know. Things could even get worse than they are right now. Sure. Nothing is really in our hands. No, you know, 95% not in our hands. What do you do? I do not know.
We do not know. That is a conundrum. Thank you, Mr. Bunch. Penultimate story. Story number 9, EU-Gambia partnership. They recently celebrated this with the 5th European Union Film Festival at Alliance Française. Have a look, have a listen.
As guests gathered for the closing night of the 5th European Union Film Festival, the evening began with a cocktail reception where diplomats, film lovers and members of the creative community reconnected ahead of the final screening in a warm and lively atmosphere. The French production Or Enfant explores themes of family, social class and the unifying role of music, showing how shared experiences can bridge social divisions in European society. Inside the theatre, audiences appeared fully engaged, reacting to moments of humor, emotion and music throughout the screening.
This film festival for us is to actually bring what we call cultural diplomacy. And when we talk about diplomacy, people think about politics and trade and cooperation. But there is something that is cultural diplomacy that is very nice, because what it brings is part of people to other people. Through the arts, you connect people directly. You explain stories, you talk about feelings, you present it in different ways.
Throughout the week,
as you may have noticed with our current cultural program, we are bringing back Gambians and Gambian youth on the front stage. So in the past 2 months, we had a lot of events such as a poetry night, a jam session for musicians, blind test and quiz and some concerts. So what we want to do is really to bring a message to everyone that Alliance Française is open to all.
Alliance Française is open to all, but of course it's not just Alliance Française. Yes, that's where it took place, but it's the European Film Festival, showing people European culture. Do we need the film festival, or can we just go on Netflix and watch whatever we want? Anyway, one wonders. Yeah.
In many ways, one doesn't mind these cultural events.
I rather enjoy them, I have to say.
Absolutely. One just sort of has to understand, as it were, what is going on here.
Soft power.
Soft power is a part of sort of marking, isn't it, Europe Day?
Yeah, quite. Indeed.
I think perhaps the more crucial lesson, I see it in that, the sort of Schuman Declaration. I mean, what was the whole idea? If we are dependent on each other economically, we wouldn't go to war. So you can see the logic of the EU, from the coal and steel union, whatever, until the European Union. The AU, the OAU, what was it? For us, it wasn't about going to war with one another. We wanted something else. So that sort of principle that underpins sort of the union, I'm not sure if we've quite got that. That is why we are seeing different results, as it were, from our union, because the imperatives so different, the history different, everything is so different. Yet we've been modeling as it were, associations on that. That is why it's not working. For me, the deeper lesson to learn about the end of the day was the logic of the formation, how it would work, what can I learn from it, the cultural exchange that happens anyway. Especially today with social media.
That's the point I was kind of making.
Absolutely. It's got nothing to do with politicians, really. There's more of a social dynamic, social traffic, just out of curiosity and that sort of thing. But I don't mind these cultural events. You know, good sort of reason to go out for the evening.
That takes us to our last story, even though the producer is telling me we don't have time for it, but we will. They'll give us the time. And the last one, Women's Cricket Week, was celebrated here in the Gambia, and it was very interesting. We went along and we had some conversations with some people. Have a look, have a listen.
Just unfortunate, you know, like for football, when football is organized, media will go and meet them. But for cricket, they don't come, media don't come. You don't approach the media, they would not come. But let me tell you the history of cricket. Cricket was the most popular sport in the Gambia. In the time of the colonial days, there's a governor who was called Sir John Paul, who was a cricketer. Then when the head of state is playing any sport, everybody wants to please him. But it was a major sport here. 2 years back, Gambia participated in the qualifiers in Kenya. We didn't do well. This October, we are also going for a qualifier, T20 qualifier, World Cup qualifier. We are progressing. Just we want to keep it step by step. Gradually, we'll go there.
I'm involved in sport. I've never, I had the mentality before that I'm not good in sport, and I will never do it. But when they introduced cricket into our school, I was like, why not I try? Maybe I'll do good. People were doubting me and so on. People always doubt you when you have some stuff in your mind that you want to do. But I tried. They trained me, Uncle Peter and Uncle Prince, and now I'm good in it.
CRIO is a global campaign and initiative launched by the International Cricket Council (ICC), which celebrates the many brilliant, adaptive, and creative ways that people play cricket informally around the world.
Anytime, anywhere, with anyone is what CRIO's thing is, because they don't like the kind of stiffness that's associated with cricket. When I went to what the Brits would sniffily call a minor public school, you had to be in your whites, otherwise you weren't allowed to play. Now they're saying anywhere on a dirt track, just need a bat and a ball, and off you go. And they're hoping that will bring more people in.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But what that gentleman said there, that colonial days, cricket was the most popular sport in the Gambia. I'm not sure about that. I don't want to sound pedantic. It was the most popular sport in Banjul.
Indeed.
It's not quite the same. It's not quite true. Really, all of that because of the CRIO dominance of Banjul and what cricket represented.
Exactly.
In England, that sort of thing. We all know about that. But cool, if you can revive it, it's not really popular. I mean, when I was at high school, you had few who were interested in cricket, and I used to play it, in the field, as it were. But now I do not know. So what do? I've never seen, when I was a kid, when I was growing up, I had never seen a girl playing cricket.
Exactly.
It was just not like that. But what an improvement.
Yes,
hearing that girl said she didn't think that she was interested in sports, but introduced to cricket, she likes it. Who knows the potential?
Enormous. Our producer's telling me we've run out of time, Mr. Mboch, but thank you for that. And to you, the viewers, thank you for watching. Until we come your way again next time. Goodbye.